Hey YouTube, this is Prometheus, guys, giving you more than the meta. So guys, I have recently had a viewer comment on one of my videos that he's struggling with throwing the long ball in his offense, and he's getting picked off and not being successful and not getting the one-play touchdowns or stretching the field like he wants to. So I want to go ahead and share with you conceptual ideas or strategies to help you expose certain defensive coverages to get your opportunity, get those long plays where you can pick up big chunks of yardages and sometimes get one-play touchdowns. So I'm going to be in the actual Chiefs playbook, and I'm going to be working out of the spread double flex. And the reason why I do like spread, or just basically a shotgun formations, is that it gives me an easy way to pre-read the defense, to give me a very good understanding of what type of defensive shell I would be going after. Now, of course, you could have people that might disguise their coverage. They might actually go ahead and baseline and stuff like that. But I do want to just give you an idea that there's a way to read defenses, and if you don't know, this is like a hidden tip that Madden pros know. This is a tip that essentially has been kind of common knowledge for Madden pros for years now with Madden. And if you don't know about this, this is probably going to be the best part of it. Now we're going to be taking a look at a couple different plays that we're going to use to stretch the field deep. We're going to use a smash concept. Right here is one of our base plays. This is going to be able to expose our opponent for that. Out of the huddle, I'm going to use this inside zone. I know it's an audible, but for a run play that I like to use, in all my schemes, is an inside zone. And the reason why is that you've got these long, extended blocking artwork that really makes it easy for you to read the defense and get an idea of what type of coverage shell you're going after. Another play we're going to take a look at is going to be corner strike. This is just got some C routes that are really effective against different types of coverages and stuff like that. And the last play we're going to take a look at, and you've obviously seen this in your playbooks, it's very common, is play action read. I like to run this against specific shells, and it gives you an opportunity to get one-play touchdowns right over the middle of the field. So we'll show you how to set that up too. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to jump into a bunch of different coverages. We're going to start off with cover 2 man coverage, and I'll be very frank with you. Cover 2 man coverage is got basically, it's really what it is. It's cover 5. You've got defenders that are actually on all your wide receivers going deep, and then you have 2 deep safeties that are supporting that. It is a cover 5 coverage. This is not a coverage that you're going to get a lot of deep passes off against your opponent, especially bombs. It is designed to take away those one-play touchdowns for the most part. Now there are ways that you can get one-play touchdowns off of this particular form of this coverage, but if you're in a situation where it is at the end of the half or end of the game, and you don't want to give up cheap yards, cover 2 man or cover 5 coverage essentially is a good coverage to go and use. Now there's easy ways to tell if you're actually running against cover 5 or cover 2 man coverage, and it really is the alignment. These guys will always come down and press on the line, and you'll notice that the defenders are usually slightly shaded to the inside, so they're always shaded to the inside, and then you have your 2 high safety shell that will fall back like this. So usually when I'm reading coverages and I see something like this, I'm going to read the defender right off the bat, and if I'm going to take a shot over the top, I'm going to read this defensive back and see if he actually falls back into that lane, and then I'll just make my next progressions off to the other side. Now, one other thing or two I want to express to you is that these guys do have run fits, so if you do a play action play, they have to come down and bite. These safeties don't. They're going to fall back into zones, but these guys will bite. And what happens is that if you've got a deep post route over the middle of the field and you do play action, this guy's going to come down and bite, and then he's going to trail. And a lot of times you can hit your opponent for a big play, potentially a one-play touchdown with a skinny post in the slot position. So there's a couple different ways to go ahead and go after your opponent. Now I do want to let you know, Madden 24, Madden 23 you could really expose your opponent for some big plays using play action. Madden 25 is a little bit different. It doesn't really allow you to do that. So I just want to kind of point that out, is that sometimes they code the game a little bit differently, and it doesn't get the best release, but you can see that fundamentally it does work. So if the defenders are actually shaded on the inside, if these guys are shading the inside, they're basically got leverage on the inside, that exposes them to the outside. So one thing you could do if you're running against anybody that's using a lot of like cover 2-man coverages and stuff like that, you need to pick up chunks of yards, you can use corner routes with the slot defenders just because they've got more field to go. So you can actually go and hit this area right here because this guy has to shade on the inside. And he's going to give up the outside shade, and you can just time that correctly. You can get yourself an easy completion. So this play smash, this is double smash. You got 2 corner routes on the other side. If you got a guy that's running a lot of just cover 2-man against you, just seeing what you could do, you can run this the entire day because it basically takes his middle defender, puts him out of play because you've got the window to hit either sides of the field against your opponent with these corner routes. So this is something you can do basically to attack cover 2-man. Now this is where I'm going to actually go ahead and show you another concept where we're going to try to expose the middle of the field. Now it is important that if you go ahead and use this play action animation to try to pull guys down and put them out of position so you can expose the middle of the field, you also have to go ahead and manipulate these safeties that are playing deep halves. And how do you do that? You go ahead and do fly routes. So this is kind of an adjustment that I made with this particular, this play, which is play action read, is that I'm going to go ahead and do fly routes with the anticipation I'm going to hit middle over the field. Now my hope is that Kelsey is going to get past this defender and get in the middle of the field. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily always happen in gameplay. Sometimes the defender rising correctly, but you can see Kelsey, because he's got really good route running, gets a big chunk of yardage, and if he was a little bit faster, that probably could have been a touchdown. Now, cover 1 hole defense, or cover 1, where you usually have a safety in the middle and you got a middle a guy over the middle, means you've got basically defenders that are going to man up, and it's kind of like a similar type of situation. Now, last year, Madden 24, Madden 23. What happens is if I saw press coverage and the ball snaps and I see the safeties rotating where they actually, one comes in the middle, another one goes down, I'm always lighting my opponent up with deep lob passes for easy touchdowns or big gainers. But the coding with this game in Madden 25 is that these guys will release and get out there and actually go ahead and play the ball deep. There's some situations where I've been able to go ahead and beat my opponent deep, but really what I've noticed is that these deep lob passes, what you used to get all the time, these guys are fast. This is a 96 speed, this is 98 speed. They're one of the fastest wide receiver teams in the game, and you can see actually that defender comes out and plays it. I don't know how fast that defender is, but cover 1 hole is actually a pretty good defense to go ahead and sprinkle into your scheme against your opponent. Now, one thing you still can do, you can still go back to the slant routes. They really get good leverage against cover 1 hole. I've noticed that, or not the slant, but the corner routes. They're very good against that. And once again, you can always go ahead and put things in the middle. Another thing too I've noticed is that these stock C routes, even the auto motions or the audible C routes, are good against man coverage because a lot of times they'll get leverage. Now there are possibilities the guy can switch stick on and click and go and do that, but a lot of times you'll see some separation with the defender. See how there's some slight separation? If you get your timing down correctly and you can come back and aggressive catch or come back and catch that, you can complete these C routes, or when it's an outside receiver, they're classified as corner routes. So this is why it's important to have these, at least in your conceptual, in your conceptually what you want to do. So you can see on the backside, we're able to go to complete that with Worthy. Another thing too is that middle, those middle slot defenders too, you could try to stretch the ball too with them. So if you do streak these guys up over the middle, you can actually do that. Sometimes you'll be able to go and get these completions, but you can see this guy's running man for man. So this really is a 50-50 ball. I don't like 50-50 balls. I like to go ahead and make sure my man is beating his defensive back. I don't like throwing into coverage because that means that potentially I'm me giving up a touchdown or giving up an interception and you're giving a possession away. So that's just my personal preference. Cover 2 zone. All right, so this is when I see cover 2 zone. I start licking my chops because this is an opportunity for me to expose my opponent's defense, because cover 2 zone, Tampa 2, cover 2 sink and all that kind of stuff, this defense can be easily exposed. Now, how do you read it is that the way the read is this defender will be slightly to the outside of this guy. This defender will be slightly inside. This guy will be slightly inside. This guy will be slightly outside, and then you get your 2 hide cell. So when you see these alignments like this, and this is all in my ebooks that I've shown, which basically carried over to the new game. This will give you an idea of what type of coverage you're going. Now, obviously, people could play a show 2 defense where they're showing cover 2 show, and it might roll into a different thing, and that's obviously post snap reads. But for the most part, this is when you see someone that runs cover 2, you can expose them for huge plays. So with cover 2, the areas of the weaknesses are essentially going to be the middle of the field and the sidelines. There's a lot of little hole pots shots that you can hit. So these are the areas that you want to go ahead and look to go ahead and complete passes, deep passes against your opponent. So there's a couple different things that you can do to go and expose your opponent with that. One of the things that you can do is you can actually go ahead and try to stress the middle of the field. So you could do so by actually going ahead and taking the running back and putting him in a streak. And if you do go ahead and motion him out, he's going to get into his route a lot faster than if he actually has to go and take a few steps and then start going. So if you want to go ahead and have him stress it out. Now the goal is to put this deep half defender in conflict. He can't cover this guy and he can't cover this guy. So that's why you want to have this set up. And you can see I'm just doing a simple corner route. And I'm actually going to have this streak, and this is going to give me an opportunity to hit my opponent on either side depending on what happens. Now my read is this defender right here, and one of the reasons I like to do smoke routes is because it gives me a cleaner read, and this guy ain't going to float up at all. He's going to have to come down and play that, and that's going to give me that window right here that I can hit the corner route. And then if this defender floats over to that, I'm going to have this window right here with this streak route going right into it. So you're going to watch this play out, and the corner route should be available, and there you go. You're going to pick up a good 30 yards with that particular play. And recently in a game, I had a guy that ran cover 2 close to the end zone, and I popped him for an easy touchdown when I read it correctly. So corner strike is just like another play that actually has that type of same type of situation. We're just going to streak this guy up. Here, if you've got a flat route right here, you've got this guy right here that can hit. Problem is that this guy can kind of play this and float. So the really smart thing is to do is if you're going to leave that concept over there, you want to go and put this guy right here and stretch it and basically go ahead and put this dude in conflict. But you could still use these type of plays to kind of expose this. So you can see here corner was available, but you can see how this defender actually was playing that correctly. If I would have streaked up on the backside with the halfback, that route would be a little bit clearer and probably had an opportunity to rack for some more yards. So let's just jump into this corner strike once again. Let's see how we set this up. Let's see if we go ahead and take. Okay, so here's another easy, simple concept that you can do. Corner strike. If you do a table route, this is going to pull this guy down, and then also go ahead and pull this guy down too to play the table route, putting this guy in a massive conflict. He has to defend either side of this, and he's never going to be right. And his user is going to have to come in here and play one of those guys away. So that's what's cool about having this. It's just a real simple thing. And really what you could do is you just could see how this guy carries. This is kind of like sink type coverage. I should be able to go and hit this guy over the middle of the field because they've got leverage. I could do an inside pass lead, and right there you can see Hopkins gets a one-play touchdown for me with that. So I think we're going to come back to this again and try to hit that sideline. Let's go ahead and jump into this really quick. So corner route, streak, smoke route, simple concept right there. You can see that's a more contested of a play. And sometimes you got to watch out for those mid reads. Those mid reads will cause some problems. Now, occasionally you get people that will actually go ahead and run a hybrid coverage where it's basically cover 2, and that becomes a little bit more difficult. But you can see how that double streak, when you have a safety that has to play a half and has two verticals going on it, he can't be right. You can never be right. And if you get time, you can kind of get away with that. So here's another concept too. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to streak up these two guys to take these safeties out of play. and then we're going to have this deep post route by the backside wide receiver wide open. So this is another setup that you can have to go ahead and beat basically cover 2. And you can see you can get a nice little completion with that and get an easy play. So yeah, this looks like this is going to be a little bit longer video than I expected, but this is what's cool about this concept, is that you can actually go ahead and hit your opponent for some pretty big plays like that. So I think we're going to go ahead and jump into cover 3 now. Now cover 3, when you look at exposed cover 3, one of the ways I read the coverage is obviously if you've got your 3 high shells, this is going to be a good indication. But also what's going to happen is this guy's going to either be shaded on the outside or he's going to be shaded on the inside. Now I found if he's shaded on the inside, it's usually a hard flat. If he's shaded to the outside, it's usually going to be some kind of a curl flat type situation, or he could be doing basically seams. So that's kind of a tell that you want to look at when you're going against cover 3. So there's a couple of different things that you want to do. Is that I like to go ahead and streak and hit the corner routes right here. Streak and corner route is a way to hit cover 3. Obviously the seams are an area that you can hit your opponent for some pretty big plays. And if you preoccupy the safety and take him deep, that means you can hit your opponent on these sides pretty easily, especially if you do some type of a deep comeback route and preoccupy this guy. So if you could bring this guy down and bring this guy up, you get yourself one-play touchdowns by hitting these corners. So we're going to go take a look at some of these things that we're doing in this setup. So going with basically verts right here. Got the little corner route. That defensive back does play it a little bit tighter. It's not necessarily what we want to do. So we want to make sure that we're preoccupied. So I like the corner flat concept with a streak on the outside receiver, because this will be a little bit more naked open, and you can rack that and pick up some pretty good yards. So it's like a 2-minute warning type situation where you need to go ahead and pick up some yards. That's probably a really good thing to do. So you can see right here, C-Raw was available. I had that streak route that actually cleared things out. Here is a play that I've been using for quite a long time. I want to block these guys up to give myself 6 blockers, to give myself some time. And really what I do is I've got this whip for a man read. I'm going to go ahead and look into this as a 1. And then I'm going to look to this play as this route as a 2. And I've got this streak going up. This should take these guys up, leaving this route available for me to go ahead and get a big play. Now the problem with this play design is that it does take a long time to develop. It's something that if you got a guy that's got really good pass rush, it's not necessarily the best play to go jump into. Plus, you're kind of giving a tell to your opponent exactly. If you run this, you might get away with one play touchdown, but you can't run it a couple times because most smart users are going to take that post away. They're not going to give that to you all the time. So it's kind of a play that you use against CPUs more than anything else. But it is a play you could go ahead and use in gameplay. I've used it personally because you could see the defenders don't follow correctly. I had leverage over here, but I just chose to go ahead and hit this deep comeback route as a backup option, because I want to go ahead and make sure my opponent is getting stressed out with that leverage. So let's just go and see if I go ahead setting up the blocking assignment. There's a lot of times you're gonna get coverage shack just because you have to wait for that play right there. So you can see I'm trying to get this play off. This guy was actually open, but it just takes a long time to develop, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use that play as a staple play. I just use it as a play to see if I can catch someone in the wrong coverage. You can go and streak guys up. You can do deep comeback routes. This is good if you got a guy that's like basically blending in match coverage. This is a good way to go ahead and beat him through the seams to the match coverage. And streaking up deep comeback routes on either side against match is really good, because you've got those deep comeback routes, but also attacking the seams against your opponent and picking up a good chunk of yards. So that could interact for that. Now let's take a look at cover 4. Cover 4 coverage. You got basically 2 different types of cover 4. You've got your match coverage, which would be quarters or palms, and then you have basically cover 4 drop, which is the old style coverage that a lot of players use. Cover 4 match is something I've been using extensively, and I'm finding some people that actually just light me up and get one-play touchdowns. And here's the reason why. If you got a guy that's running quarters coverage, these defenders are responsible have pass responsibilities for these two guys, but they don't take care of the third wide receiver unless the other guys are going shallow. So how you really conceptually beat your opponent is going ahead and actually go ahead and preoccupying this safety and this safety that think that they have vertical routes that they have to stop, leaving this guy wide open unless the 3-rec hook or the 3-rec hook carries with it. 3-rec hooks are supposed to play in the box, so a lot of times they'll get themselves out of position. So you can see right here that safety match there. We can go ahead and we're going to manipulate the defense if we got a guy runs quarters against us by making the following adjustments. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy, we're going to hook zone him. That should slide this guy out right here. And what's going to happen is now these guys' responsibilities are to play Hopkins, and the 3-rec hook is supposed to carry this guy deep. So I'm going to motion this guy out. Watch what happens with this defender. You would think logically this defender would come down and play this guy, but that's not what happens. He gets himself completely out of position because he's got a responsibility to play this corner route. He's got his responsibilities to do this, and he's assuming this 3-rec hook is going to carry, which usually is a lot of times it's going to be a user that's going to play in the middle of the box. But take a look at this. No one plays this, and I'm able to go ahead and get a really, really easy touchdown by manipulating those deep quarters that have man matching principles. You could do it to the other side, same basically setup, not really giving your opponent any kind of tell, and you can go ahead and expose them for an easy touchdown. So if you do run into somebody that runs a lot of quarters defense, this is what you need to do. Sometimes when I'm playing games, sometimes I play a game, I'll forget about manipulating defenses, but it's something you can jump into and catch your opponent off guard and get a one-play touchdown. And if you've got stout defense yourself, you can definitely go ahead and basically just pick up those touchdowns and then put him back on the ball and see what he can do to go and try to get past your defense. So very, very simple to expose. There's also when it comes to like cover 4 quarters, you want to go ahead and try to hit the corner routes and stuff like that. Deep comeback routes are really good, or just little out routes and stuff like that. So this is just kind of like a good way to go and expose your opponent for some easy touchdowns over the middle field. So see how that basically running back is wide open. You could probably hit your opponent maybe twice with that after they just get smart and they start trying to cover that up, or they switch on to a defensive back, and that's when you got to start playing with other things to beat your opponent. So deep comeback routes are really good to go and use against cover 4 match, because really you're just playing cover 1 more than anything else. So you'll watch where these should be available right here. So you can see how this guy's going to come up and come back down. He's available on this particular play, so you could set up the play accordingly to give you an opportunity for your one-play touchdown, but also have a way that if he actually mans that up, you could take that away. Now, smart people that play cover 4 basically will blend in some type of cover 4 drop. They'll basically play the sticks with cover 4 drop, or just use with cover 4 quarters. So the difference with this is that these guys are releasing and going deep. You're going to have these guys playing deep routes, so you're never going to be able to get over the top of the coverage with cover 4 drop. It's always going to be covered up, and the only thing you really can do is just get into the zone and try to throw above the underneath coverage and below the deep coverage. So if you do run into a guy that runs cover 4 drop, you want to go ahead and try to go ahead and manipulate those zones. So here's a situation where we're going to do is we're going to streak this guy up, and then we're going to be looking for that deep post on the back side, because this guy is going to force the defense to go deep. These guys have to respect that. Even on the back side, they respect it. And what's going to happen is we'll be able to hit a pocket underneath those cover 4 coverages with the deep post, because I got a route that's stretching the coverages. So that's what you can do with that. So let's go back into this. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a double streak, and then we have that post route. We got a curl route right here. right here. So see how this guy kind of pushes out and then it kind of comes back and he's going to play a corner route. We can hit this route, and then we also have got this streak route with this post route that you can hit against your opponent. So you can see how that actually will work out for you. So there's just different types of methodologies to get into cover 4 coverage. But you know, if you're concerned about giving up one play touchdowns, I'll tell you, cover 4 coverage zone drop is really the way to go. Try not to give up big plays and force your opponent to actually go ahead and try to hit the gaps against them. So you could play sticks, cover 4 drop, and it's a really good. That's a really good coverage to go ahead and use against your opponent if you, in a you know, 2-minute situation where he has got to score quick. You could try to take that away from him and force him to do that. So you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm really trying to manipulate the coverages. I got streak routes, pulling everything up. And I'm going to watch this crossing route and see how many picked up a good, like, you know, 50 yards right there. With that particular play, I picked up 30 yards. That's just something you can do. So once again, guys, thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. If you guys like these type of tips, go ahead and make a comment below. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you for support. Until next time.